Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Surprise Jab Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Ruger, surprising you with new topics every single week and jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC. And we have a fun episode for you all here today. We, of course, will be recapping all the action from Week 18 of the NFL regular season. But what we will also be doing is looking back at every title fight that occurred in 2024 in the UFC, and we will be ranking them from best to worst, or actually worst to best. We're, of course, going from number 19 all the way to number 1, so you will find out what I believe was the best and the worst title fight that occurred in the UFC in 2024. As well, we look at new UFC fights that have been announced, some new updates in pop culture, a whole lot of fun stuff as the year starts to kick things off, if you will. I know we have another UFC event coming at you this week. The first one of 2025 does not look exciting at all, but after that, the home run stretch of the UFC really begins. So, without ado, let's dive right into it with some new UFC fights that have been announced. We've only had three. Only three new UFC fights have been announced in the past few days. This first one actually taking place on short notice as Joe Solecki will be replacing Yanal Ashmovs to take on Nurullo Aliyev at UFC Vegas 101 on January 11th. Nurullo Tajik Eagle Aliyev hails from Tajikistan. The 24-year-old is 9-0, won his UFC debut over Rafael Alves in a thrilling fight. I'll be excited to see this one. Really, I think Nurullo Aliyev is very talented. This is a big step up for him compared to, I would say, who he was going to fight in Yanal Ashmovs, as Joe Solecki has fought in some pretty good talent so far in the UFC, and he actually holds a win over Jim Miller, funny enough. So that one should be exciting. I'm probably back in Nurullo Aliyev, but we'll have to see what happens. Another one, this one for UFC Vegas 101, another short notice fight as Jacoby Smith will be replacing Andreas Gustafsson against Preston Parsons. Jacoby Smith, 9-0, making his UFC debut. He's taken on the five-fight UFC veteran Preston Parsons. Preston holds wins over Ignacio Bahamondes, Evan Elder, and Matthew Semmelsberger. That's a pretty good roster for an unranked talent right there. Preston's 11-5 professionally, but I kind of back Jacoby in this one. He seems more game, seems more ready just from their fighter photos, but photos can be misleading. The final new fight that was announced will be going down at UFC 313 in Las Vegas on March 8th. It is a bantamweight matchup as Chris Gutierrez, the former main eventer, Chris Gutierrez, takes on the 16-0, 2-0 in the UFC, Gene Matsumoto. Gene Matsumoto, this kid, 25 years old, all right, wins over Dan Argueta and Brad Katona in his first two UFC fights. He looks like a real talent. He looks like someone who could be the real deal. Trains at Inside Muay Thai in Brazil. I think he could have a future in this men's bantamweight division. You know, when we, on our last episode, talked about who'd have the biggest rise and biggest fall, this could be someone who is very underrated that has a big rise in the men's bantamweight division. And with a win over Chris Gutierrez, you can get a ranked opponent right after that. So this could be a big opportunity for Gene Matsumoto. As for Chris Gutierrez, he's entering the latter stages of his career. He's 35 years old this year, and 21-6-2, pretty good professional record, 8-3-1 in the UFC. This guy has knocked out Frankie Edgar in spectacular fashion. He actually retired Frankie Edgar, funny enough. Had a main event against, I want to say Song Yadong, lost that one. Had a main event against, I can't even recall. Who did he have a main event against? He had a main event against another person, I swear. Was it Rob Font? Did he beat Rob Font in the main event? I can't recall, but Chris Gutierrez, an interesting talent. This one should be not too bad. Should be exciting, but that's all the new UFC news we have. There's unfortunately not that much stuff to cover, but as the year begins to really kick into a full swing of things, we should be getting some new fight news dropping left, right, and center, as Dana gives us everything we could want and more. But as always, we always have new things in other realms of the world, such as pop culture. Let's see what's trending in the pop culture world. Number one, Will Smith has released a cryptic post teasing that he may be starring in a new Matrix movie. Very interesting. It says, in 1997, the Wachowskis offered Will Smith the role of Neo in The Matrix. Smith turned it down. He chose Wild Wild West, believing it was a better fit for him at the time. But the question remains, what would The Matrix have been like with Will Smith as Neo? Wake up, Will. You know what? I could care less if Will Smith is in The Matrix. I don't like Will Smith. I think he's a bad person. I think he does bad things. That's just my personal opinion, but hey, I've never met the guy. I can't judge for myself. I think the whole facade of being a nice guy is all just what I said, a facade. Number 2, the live-action Scooby-Doo films are now streaming on Netflix. I believe there's 2 of them. I've never seen either of them. Was never really a major, I want to say, Scooby-Doo fan too much. Nothing personal. It was just never my forte, if you will. But hey, if you want to watch them, they're on Netflix. Number 3, Tom Holland and Zendaya are reportedly engaged. That makes me very happy. I love their little romance in Spider-Man 2 and even in Spider-Man 3. And they just seem like a cute couple. I hope that they don't get corrupted by the industry too much, even though I worry they already have been corrupted just a bit. But hey, good for them. Keep it out of the public eye is all I can say. And this was reported by TMZ, so is it reliable? You never know. Number 4, new poster for Lee Whannell's Wolfman movie in theaters on January 17th. I've been seeing the trailer for this on regular TV. I was on Netflix. I saw trailers. I was on YouTube. And the one thing I'll say about this movie is you've basically seen the entire movie in the trailer. I don't know what else there is to even see. This dad, wife, and daughter, I believe, they're like going off to their house or to a trip or something. They crash. The dad gets bit by something. He turns into a werewolf, if you will, and he comes after the family. And you got all that from the trailer. I did have to go and do any diving. That is just all something you can tell from the trailer. So I hope there's more to this movie, but we'll have to see. Number five, the cold open for tonight's first ever WWE Raw on Netflix has dropped. It seems very cool. That is right. Monday Night Raw, WWE is now going to be on Netflix every Monday. And they have an action-packed show tonight. I already told Lexi, look, we're going to be watching this tonight. She's like, oh, but I want to watch this movie. And you only have a week left for college. I go, no, we are watching Monday Night freaking Raw tonight. Let me tell you, John Cena's going to be there. Roman Reigns takes on Solo Sikoa. CM Punk takes on Seth Rollins. You have a women's championship match. You got Jey Uso, Drew McIntyre. It looks absolutely fantastic. I want to do more WWE content here and there, so maybe we'll do like a little Monday Night Raw review or something. We'll have to see, but I am excited for WWE Monday Night Raw to debut on Netflix. What should we go with? Number 7? What are we on? Number 6? Can't recall. Let's go number 7. The top Golden Globe winners are Amelia Perez with 4, Shogun with 4, The Brutalist with 3, Baby Reindeer with 2, and Hacks with 2. I've heard of 3 of these, and I've seen 1. That's Baby Reindeer. I could care less about the Golden Globes. It's a weird thing that America is fascinated with all of these rich celebrities who look down upon everyone. They really think they are better than everyone, and we watch them receive rewards and we cheer for them. It's a very weird concept. I don't really know if I can fully grasp it, in my personal opinion. Number 8, Colin Farrell reacts to being the third actor after Heath Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix to get a Golden Globe for playing a comic book villain. He said they're two of the most extraordinary talented artists in film. To even have your name uttered in the same sentence as those performances, it's lovely, but I still approach it as a fan. Hey, he played the Penguin super good. He's getting his flowers, I think is the word I was looking for. And good for him. Good for Colin Farrell. He's been a pretty good actor in the few things that I have seen him in. Let's go with number 9. Shogun won all 4 Golden Globes that was nominated for. Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Drama Series, Best Supporting Actor. I really got to watch Shogun. All right, I love that Japanese samurai type stuff. That's super cool stuff, and I really got to get around to watching it. Just add it to the list. Add it to a list of things I want to see, and maybe we'll get around to it. Number 10, what should we end with? It's all Golden Globe stuff, I'm going to be honest. Here we go. Number 10, Matt Reeves explains why the Batman 2 was delayed to 2027. He said, we're still finishing the script, and there's been so many things going on. This next year is very much more about getting into production and getting the movie going. At this rate, you are never going to get the Batman, all right? You will never find out what happens in the Batman Part 2 because it is just never going to come out. They're just going to keep delaying it. I cannot believe that this movie, I think, came out in 2021. When did the Batman come out? Let me do a quick little search on Google real quick, because I am pretty sure that this movie came out almost 3 years ago. It came out in 2022, so it has now been, it's 2025, 3 years since that. It will have been 5 years from the original one. That is utterly insane. But guys, those are all your new updates in pop culture. Fun stuff all around, I suppose. Do I even really care about pop culture? Nah, I should create a new segment where I talk about conspiracy theories. Ooh, that can be fun. Actually, I got a fun episode coming up planned with Ryan. We're going to be talking about conspiracy theories, my good buddy and roommate. But let's discuss Week 18 of the NFL season. We officially wrapped up the 2024-25 NFL regular season. Lots of action, lots of stuff, and we now know all 14 playoff teams. Let's dive right into it. So before we actually begin, I do want to just say real quick that I know ball because I won my 16-man fantasy football league to win $400. And by the way, this was my first year invited to this specific league with a bunch of my friends. It was utterly insane. I just want to list out my team to you guys that led me to glory. First off, we had Jalen Hurts carrying us the entire way. We also had Saquon Barkley, Baker Mayfield, my backup quarterback, starting wide receivers Jackson Smith-Njigba and Brian Thomas Jr., who I knew would be studs this year. I drafted them. I listened to the experts in fantasy football, and they told me these two would be good. My flex positions, this is how it worked. We had 2 flex instead of 2 running back, Zay Flowers and Brock Bowers. Now, Zay was hit or miss, but Brock Bowers, very consistent, very good, leading me to glory. My defense always fluctuated. I always had a different defense here and there, but the Ravens defense really carried me through. And my kicker, none other than the number 1 kicker in football, Chris Boswell. So that's a league-winning team right there. I won a lot of money, and can I even find the final? I want to see if I can find the final schedule. Here it was. So in round 3, I won 218 to 191 in the championship. And in the championship game, my opponent, my friend Chase, he had Drake May in, and they did not announce Drake May was out until kickoff, officially began, which really screwed him. He had George Pickens, and George ended with 1 catch. He also had the Atlanta defense, which got -6 points. And as for me, my Baltimore defense, 17 points. Brock Bowers, 15. Brian Thomas Jr., 17. Baker Mayfield with 21. That was in Week 18. As for Week 17, I don't know if I can actually look at that, but it was good. It was a good time. Overall, I very much enjoyed it. It was such a fun season. But let's look at the remaining games and what happened, because we now know all of our playoff positions. So we kick things off with a little Saturday football action. It's always fun when we get football on Saturday, isn't it? I think it is. And we had both of our AFC North games to round out the season on this day. First off, Browns and Ravens. And like I said, I had the Ravens defense, and they did exceptional. They got a touchdown, held the Browns only 10 points. I mean, it was a beatdown. It was a beatdown on multiple proportions for the Browns. I mean, they managed a garbage time touchdown. Other than that, it was all Ravens. Ravens going to end the year 12-5. Browns end the year 3-14. For the Browns, Bailey Zappi started 170 yards, touchdown, and 2 picks. Was not locked in, let me tell you that. On the run game, Deontay Foreman, 10 carries, 27 yards, was your leader. Nothing was getting past this Ravens defense. Top wide receivers, Jordan Atkins, the tight end, 6 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown. Jerry Jeudy, 6 catches, 63 yards, and Elijah Moore 3. I mean, it was just an abysmal time to be a Cleveland Brown. But for a Baltimore Raven fan, I mean, no better way to end the year. Lamar, 217 yards, 2 touchdowns, rush for 63 yards. Derrick Henry, King Henry, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns. Insane. Rashad Bateman, 5 catches, 76 yards and a touchdown. Mark Andrews, 4 catches, 54 yards and a touchdown. And then you had Zay Flowers getting injured on his 1 catch of the game. Oh my gosh, I was so upset. I'm so worried for Zay. Big Zay Flowers fan. I hope he's not too hurt. Because if he is, then the Ravens may be in trouble in the playoffs. And the Ravens will be taking on the Steelers. How about that? I find it very fascinating that they've already played each other twice, and they have to play each other again. And to make matters even better, they're 1-1 on the year. I'm excited for that playoff matchup. Here's one for you. Speaking of the devil, the Steelers took on the Bengals at home, and they lost. Steelers were on a roll, and they end the season on a 4-game losing streak. They will have the 6th seed in the playoffs, I think it is. Or is it, what will they have? Will they have the 6 or, yeah, they do have the 6th seed because the Ravens are the 3. Pretty crazy if you ask me. So in this game, I mean, back and forth, Steelers almost rallied, But this was primarily just the Bengals show, and it's a shame this Bengals team is missing the playoffs. They were 4-8 and won their last 5 games, but they were just in too big of a hole. And other teams like the Broncos and the Chargers, they faltered here and there, but they were consistently staying on top of things. So in this one, it started off 13-rip before the Steelers actually were able to get a touchdown. Steelers had a good 10-3 quarter, outscoring the Bengals, but at the end of the day, they just couldn't put it together. Joe Burrow, 277 yards, touchdown, and a pick. He had a pretty good performance. Khalil Herbert stepping in for an injured, I believe it was, Chase Brown. 69 yards on the ground, and he also had 7 catches for 14 yards. Jamar Chase, 10 catches, 96 yards and a touchdown. He was balling. Mike Gesicki, 8 catches, 68 yards. T. Higgins, 4 catches, 53 yards. This is a good offense. It's a shame this 9-8 team will not be in the playoffs. For the Steelers, though, it's crazy how good they were all year that they ended on such a sour note. Russ, 148 yards and a touchdown. Didn't really do much. Najee Harris, 36 yards and touchdown. Wasn't getting it done. Of the 17 completions for Russell, 8 of them went to Pat Freiermuth, 85 yards and touchdown for him. The longest reception of the game, a 1-catch, 25-yarder to Mike Williams. Najee Harris had 4 catches. Van Jefferson had 3. And George Pickens, thankfully only had 1. I was able to win the fantasy league because of that. But I did kind of feel bad for Chase that George did not show up when it mattered most. So, final AFC North standings. Ravens 12-5 end on a 4-game win streak. Steelers 10-7 end on a 4-game losing streak. Bengals 9-8 and third, 5-game winning streak to end the year. And Browns 3-14. They, I believe, are going to be getting the number 2 pick. Either the number 2 or is it the number 2? They're either getting the number 2 or 3. So Browns getting the top 3 pick. Good for them. Ravens do get into the 500-point club of scoring for the whole team, so good for them. Interesting stuff in this division. Browns went 1-8 on the road this season. That is just so bad. That is so bad. So AFC North wrapped up their season on Saturday. Not too bad. Not too bad at games, but Bengals and Steelers was far more interesting. With that, we went into NFL Sunday and talk about game of the week. All right, we had a lot of competitive games. I was trying to decide which one I wanted to label game of the week, and I decided to label it as this Panthers and Falcons game because holy cow, what a shootout for no reason. Panthers win 44-38 in overtime. Panthers end the year 5-12. Great way to come back from last season, in my opinion. Falcons end the year 8-9. What a disastrous season for the Atlanta Falcons. Truly terrible. This game started off slow, 3-3 after 1. Then the Falcons explode for 3 touchdowns in the second quarter. Panthers go for 2. In the third, Panthers get 2 more touchdowns. Falcons don't score. In the fourth, Falcons get 2 touchdowns. Panthers get 1, and then overtime, Panthers march a game-winning drive. And then who better to punch it in than Miles Sanders? Oh, yes, so exciting. So excited. Bryce Young, 251 yards, 3 touchdowns. Are you kidding me? Miles Sanders, 66 yards and a touchdown. Miles also had 3 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown. He had 27 fantasy points. Receiver-wise, Jalen Coker, 7 catches, 62 yards, led the day. Adam Thielen, 5 catches, 44 yards. Tommy Tremble caught a touchdown, and David Moore also caught a touchdown. Tight ends doing their part. You also had a fun play where Jalen Coker threw a 19-yard trick play pass. I don't even know who caught it. I honestly can't even recall. For the Falcons, Michael Penix Jr., 312 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Not too bad. Bijan, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns. Oh, my gosh, what a killer. Penix ran in a touchdown. Drake London, 10 catches, 187 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Goes for 40 fantasy points. Ray McLeod had 4 catches for 66 yards. This was the Drake London show for the Falcons. Like I said, rough season for the Falcons. No other way to put it. They finished second in the NFC South, missed the playoffs, and end on a 2-game losing streak. Panthers end on a win. Good for them. The worst defense in the league. They gave up 534 points this season. I want you all to know that not a single other defense in the entire league gave up 500 points. All right, this is literally one of the worst defenses I think we've ever seen, and yet they still managed 5 wins. You know what? I think that Bryce Young has redeemed his spot, and he'll be back for the Panthers next season. I'm very confident in Bryce Young now. I'm high on the Bryce Young train. I was off it. I'm back on it. Following that, the Texans took on the Titans, and finally the Texans get a win. Holy cow. I thought we were going to have a playoff team with only one win, but no, Texans win 23-14 over the Titans, and this actually gave the Titans the number one pick in next year's draft, or I guess it's this year's draft, so good for the Titans. They'll need it. I don't know who to take if I'm them. I don't know who to take. I think they need a good running back. No offense to Pollard and Tajee Spears, but they just aren't getting it done personally. And the 23-14 win, I mean, you saw the Titans almost rally with 8 points in the fourth, but they couldn't do anything from there. This was all Texans, and I mean, C.J. Stroud came in 6 for 6, 50 yards at touchdown, then dipped. All right, Davis Mills came in 12 for 22, 128 yards, held it down, but the real star of this game, the stud, we forgot about him, but when he came out, and he performed, oh my gosh, he was so good. 176 yards and a touchdown for Dameon Pierce. Are you kidding me? Dameon Pierce, the same Dameon Pierce who everyone wrote off? Yeah, he was holding it down. Joe Mixon, 5 carries, 23 yards. He took the day off. Receiving wise, I mean, Nico Collins, 5 catches, 38 yards and a touchdown. Was really the only wide receiver balling. Robert Woods, 2 catches, 39 yards, had the most yardage. But really, this is the Dameon Pierce show, and he was really showing out, let me tell you. For the Titans, Will Levis, 9 for 17, 175 yards, and a touchdown. Took over duties for Mason Rudolph. Tony Pollard rushed for 62 yards. Calvin Ridley, 3 catches, 76 yards. Nick Westbrook-Akini, 4 catches, 50 yards. The lone touchdown goes to Devontavian Martin, who had a 149-yard catch out of nowhere. So, good for the Titans. You're getting the number one pick. There's a little good to be said about this team. Let me just tell you, a little good to be said about this team. They are not good. They're not good. The Texans, though, they're not too bad. 10-7, end on a win. Actually finish with a plus 0 point differential. 372 points for, 372 points allowed. How odd is that? They'll take on the Chargers in the wild card round. Titans end with a minus 149 point differential, 6-game losing streak. They went 1-7 at home, 2-7 on the road. Wow, that is really, really bad. Another one here, Eagles playing their backups. They beat the Giants 20-13. I knew they would. I knew the Giants' backups were better than I knew the Eagles' backups were better than the Giants' starters. I mean, really, you just had the Giants scoring 10 points in the fourth. I mean, other than that, it was 20-3, primarily the entire game. Drew Lock, 138 yards, touchdown and pick. I mean, he looked much better against the Colts, but that's the difference between a Colts team and an Eagles team. Okay, Eagles, far better. Tyrone Tracy, 59 yards on the ground. Devin Singletary, 22. Nothing really done there. Malik Neighbors, 5 catches, 64 yards, a touchdown. He did good. Vandale Robinson, 10 catches, only 43 yards. That is insane if you ask me. 10 catches, only 43 yards. Giants, man, end the year 3-4 team. They will probably be getting the number 2 or number 3 pick. Them and the Browns, I don't know who gets what. For the Eagles, I mean, this is their third string. Tanner McKee, 269 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, come on. That QB locker room is super good. Rushing-wise, I mean, Will Shipley, 32 yards. Kenneth Gainwell, 14 yards. No one did anything there. It was through the receiving department. Jahan Dotson, 7 catches, 94 yards. You had Ainias Smith, 4 catches, 35 yards. He caught a touchdown. E.J. Jenkins caught his lone pass for a touchdown. Other than that, I legit don't know. Johnny Wilson? Okay, who's Johnny Wilson? He caught a couple catches. Good for the Eagles, 14-3. They will be the number 2 seed in the playoffs. And who are they taking on? I'm trying to jog my memory. They're the 2 seed. They're taking on the 7 seed. Do they play the Commanders? No, Commanders play the Packers, don't they? Oh my gosh, I can't remember. No, Commanders play. It's Packers and Eagles. That's who it is. So the Eagles will take on the Packers in the wild card round. I don't know. Will the Packers pull off an upset? We'll have to see. I'm probably going to ride with the Eagles. AFC North officially wrapped up, or was it the AFC East? I don't even know what freaking conference they're in. I can't recall. It's the AFC South. I just remember Jaguars and Colts in Indianapolis. Colts win 26-23. I mean, this Jaguars team and the year 4-13. Little was expected them, but the Colts 8-9. Not too bad for a team that really had no prowess the entire year. Mac Jones for the Jaguars, 225 yards, touchdown and a pick. Did what he had to do. Tank Bigsby, 39 yards and a touchdown. I love you, Tank. So fun. Brian Thomas Jr., ending the year on a bang. 7 catches, 103 yards. And the number 4 fantasy wide receiver Okay, everyone's talking about Jaden Daniels. Everyone's talking about Malik Neighbors. Everyone's talking about Brock Bowers. How about Brian Thomas Jr., who I drafted and rode with all year? What an absolute dog. Parker Washington caught a touchdown on one of his 2 catches. Brenton Strange, 4 catches, 60 yards. Good for him. For the Colts, you really got to work out what's going on with Anthony Richardson. He just can't stay healthy. Joe Flacco, though, old reliable, 264 yards and a touchdown. He did good. Jonathan Taylor, 177 yards and a touchdown, ending the year strong. Josh Downs, 10 catches, 94 yards. Michael Pittman, 6 catches, 72 yards. And Alex Pierce, 2 catches, 57 yards. One of those was a deep ball touchdown. Good for the Colts. I mean, it's not pretty. This was probably the worst division in football. I can't lie, the AFC South. Texans 10-7, Colts 8-9, Jaguars 4-13, and Titans 3-14. Jaguars go 1-8 on the road this year. Not pretty at all. Minus 120-point differential. For the Colts, they actually aren't as good either. Minus 50-point differential. 3-6 on the road. Not too good. So we'll see if the Texans can pick up a wild card win, but I don't expect much of them because the whole division overall, not too good. Commanders taking on the Cowboys in their season finale, and they get it done to no one's surprise, in my opinion. This Cowboys team is in need of something. I don't know what they're in need of, but they're in need of something. Marcus Mariota taking over duties for Jaden Daniels in this one. 161 yards, 2 touchdowns. We all forget Marcus Mariota, former number 1 overall pick to the Titans. He was super good. Also ran 56 yards for a touchdown. Incredible. Terry McLaurin, 8 catches, 62 yards and a touchdown. Olamide Zaccheaus, 2 catches, 51 yards. Zach Ertz, 5 catches, 44 yards and a touchdown. This Commanders team will be scary. They take on the Buccaneers in the wild card round. For the Cowboys, they end the year 7-10. Trey Lance, 244 yards. Did what he had to do. Rico Dowdle, 72 yards and a touchdown, proving that he is actually a pretty good running back. Jalen Tolbert, 4 catches, 98 yards. Kevontae Turpin, 3 catches, 53 yards. I don't even know how they scored in this one. It was the Brandon Aubrey show, all right? Brandon Aubrey put up, I think it was, 7 minus 9? He hit 4 field goals. Wow, good for Brandon Aubrey. Cowboys, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say with you. You had a rough year, finished 3rd in your division. And hey, Eagles and Commanders, they just ran things. Eagles end the year 14-3, 2-game win streak, number 2 seed. Commanders end the year 12-5, 5-game winning streak. They were 15 points away from a 500 offensive season. Incredible. Giants, 1-8 at home. Not good. Cowboys 2-7 at home after going undefeated at home last year. Just shows what one season can do to a team. Pretty crazy. Following that, we got to such an exciting game. The Bears and the Packers. My parents were at this game. My dad's work has season tickets. He had to take some clients. And the Bears end their 10-game winning streak with a win. Incredible. They win on a game-winning field goal. You can't even make this stuff up. And the last time they played the Packers, they were blocked on a game-winning field goal. They would not be blocked here on a 51-yarder from Cairo Santos. Absolutely beautiful way to end the year for such a disastrous season for the Bears. Caleb Williams, 148 yards and a touchdown. Did what he had to do. DeAndre Swift, 65 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Not too bad. DJ Moore, 9 catches, 86 yards and a touchdown. He was scaring me in fantasy. Okay, I was playing him. He was balling out. Other than that, Keenan Allen had 3 catches. Rome had 2. Cole Kmet had 2. I mean, this was a defensive game for the Bears. Malik Willis, 136 yards. Jordan Love, 69 yards. Jordan Love came off the field. Malik Willis took over duties and couldn't really do much with it. Emmanuel Wilson took over backfield duties with 14 carries for 73 yards and a touchdown. Josh Jacobs did have 6 carries, one of which was a touchdown. Receiving-wise, they were kind of wrestling their starters to an extent. I mean, Jaden Reed, 2 catches, 48 yards. Tucker Kraft, 4 catches, 36 yards. Malik Heath led the day, 3 catches, 53 yards. I don't even know how they scored. Did the defenses get points? I honestly have no idea. But neither guy, were there fumbles in this one? I'm so confused, honestly, how these teams got points when I can only see 2 touchdowns from each of them. But it doesn't matter. Game-winning field goal, send them packing. That's what I love to see. Packers got a day with the Eagles, as we mentioned. And the Bears, you're into the offseason. You got to rebuild. 1-7 on the road. minus 60 point differential. You started the year 4-2 and lost your last 10 before finally getting one in the final season finale. 5-12 record for the Bears ends their season. Packers 11-6. They had a pretty good year, plus 122 point differential, 6-3 at home. They do end on a 2-game losing streak though, so they're going to need to recapture some magic as they take on the Eagles in the wild card round. Keeping our noon games moving, we had the Saints take on the Buccaneers, and this one was oddly close, I think, for the Bucs. Kind of scared them a bit, but despite being down, they rally, score 2 touchdowns unanswered in the fourth, and win 27-19, securing their spot in the playoffs. And they're going in, number 3 seed, taking on the Commanders, and they got a little momentum to go with it. For the Saints, Spencer Rattler, 240 yards at touchdown. Not too bad. Rushing-wise, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 26. Jamal Williams, 15. Jordan Mims, 12. I mean, there was a no running zone for the Saints in this one. Now, as for the Bucs, this is where they shone. It was fantastic. Baker Mayfield, when we needed Baker the most, he came alive to help me in the fantasy playoffs. 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Also rushed for 68 yards. Very out of character. Bucky Irving officially winning the backfield. Rashad White didn't even play. 89 yards and a touchdown for Bucky Irving. Mike Evans, 9 catches, 89 yards to tie Jerry Rice for most consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. Incredible. They actually used their final play of the game to do it. It was fun. How about Jalen McMillan? 5 catches, 74 yards and a touchdown. A breakout star this year. Good to see. And the Bucs will be heading to the playoffs. Good for them. For the NFC, the NFC East Division, NFC South, Bucks 10-7, Falcons 8-9, Panthers 5-12, Saints 5-12. Not as bad as it was last year. I won't lie. I've seen better from this conference, or at the division, I mean. But hey, this was the Falcons' conference to lose, and they lost it indeed. The Buccaneers 10-7 win the NFC South. Not really anything notable. 5-4 at home, 5-3 on the road. Pretty consistent in every game they played. Now, as for the final noon game, you had the Bills taking on the Patriots, and I knew they'd do it. Patriots win 23-6. Now, one thing I identified in my predictions for this game was that the Patriots always play the Bills close for some reason, despite how good the Bills are. And the Bills were resting their starters in this one, and I just knew that the Patriots would capitalize upon this and beat them. And beat them they did. It was actually 16-17 for the Patriots. Heading into the fourth quarter, they managed 2 field goals and beat the Bills, ending the Bills season at 13-4. And the Patriots, 4-13, lose the number 1 pick with this win. I knew it would happen. I called it, and lo and behold, it did. I know a thing or two, because I've seen a thing or two, okay? Bills, Mitchell Trubisky, 101 yards and a touchdown. Good for him. Mitchell Trubisky, that's a good backup for Josh Allen. We'll see how Allen does in the playoffs for the Bills. Ray Davis, 64 yards on the ground. James Cook, 10 carries, 28 yards, a touchdown, I believe, left after the first quarter or so. But rest of the team, nothing too pretty. Curtis Samuel led the day in catches. This was all the Bills' backups. Nothing too exciting. For the Patriots, Drake May didn't even play. 22 yards, 22 out of 29 on completion, 240 yards, and a touchdown for Joe Milton III, who played in this one. Antonio Gibson, 41 yards in the backfield. Joe Milton III actually ran for a touchdown, too. Keyshawn Boat ended the season, 7 catches, 117 yards, and a touchdown. That is a banger way to end the year. Keyshawn Boat, one of the more breakout stars of the Patriots, I'd say. He was kind of on my radar before the season, but really had a good way to end the year. The Patriots team, there's nothing too pretty to really say about their season, but when you end the year beating the Bills every day, that's a pretty good way to go out on it, especially when you're at home. Following this game, we head to our 3:30 slate, kicking things off with the Chargers and the Raiders. And, man, I'll tell you, Chargers held on to this one. Defense came up big, really shut them out, win 34-20. Good win overall for this Los Angeles Chargers team. And the total game time, they had like 42 minutes of clock to the 18 for the Raiders. It was such a crazy stat. Harbaugh has exemptional ball, what word am I looking for? Exemptional ball holding skills, clock management is what I was looking for, and it was impressive to see here. Herbert, 346 yards and 2 touchdowns. Holy cow, I didn't even realize that. On the ground, which is really where Harbaugh loves to run his offense. Dobbins, 63 yards. Hassan Haskins, 33 yards and a touchdown. Through the receiving game, Quentin Johnson, 13 catches, 186 yards and a touchdown. Breakout game for him. Will Dissly had a touchdown. DJ Chark had a touchdown. Good job overall for the Chargers. For the passing game of the Raiders, Aiden O'Connell, 214 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. They are definitely drafting a quarterback next season in the draft. I can already tell. They need a running back too. Madison, 20 yards, was the leading rusher. They only carried the ball 12 times for the Raiders. That's insane. Receiving-wise, Jacoby Myers, 9 catches, 123 yards and a touchdown. Brock Bowers, 4 catches, 50 yards and a touchdown. That's what I love to see. Chargers go 11-6 on the year. Raiders go 4-13. As we all know, it is the Chiefs' division. But in, I don't know if I want to call it shocking fashion, the Chiefs got blown out 38-0. I mean, that'll happen when you have the entire Broncos starting cast taking on the second and third strings of the Chiefs. It was a beatdown of utter proportions for this Broncos team. Anywhere you check, no one really thrived on this Chiefs team. Carson Wentz, 98 yards. That's all he had. Rushing-wise, Carson Steele, 25 yards. Sobody, 3 and outs. Most receiving yards on the day and catches, Nico Ramigo, 2 catches, 48 yards. That's crazy. That is crazy. Now, for the Broncos, who needed to make the playoffs, Bo Nix, 321 yards, 4 touchdowns. Incredible. Bo Nix, 7 rushes, 47 yards, led the day. Audric Estime pushed in a touchdown. But this was really Marvin Mims Jr. having a breakout day. 5 catches, 51 yards, 2 touchdowns. Was really impressed what I saw from him. Cortland Sutton, 5 catches, 98 yards, a touchdown. He was balling too. And what I saw people saying is that the Chiefs intentionally wanted the Broncos to win so they wouldn't have to play the Bengals in the playoffs, which honestly, I don't blame them for making that call. So Broncos make the playoffs. We already know Chiefs have the number 1 seed, have a bye, but Broncos sneak in as that 7 seed, and they will be taking on the Bills. Yeah, ain't going to be an easy one, but I'll tell you, if anyone can beat the Bills, it's probably not the Broncos. So I'd expect a Bills win in that one. But hey, good win here to end the year, and always nice to see the Chiefs losing. The NFC West is what rounded out our remaining games for the 3:30 slate. Actually, also had the Dolphins and Jets, but Cardinals blow out the 49ers 47-24. This is the Cardinals' best performance of the season. They'll end the year 8-9, and the Super Bowl runner-ups, who almost knocked off the Chiefs, the 49ers, end the year 6-11, and it was just, this was a close game. It was 26-24 heading into the fourth. Cardinals get 3 unanswered touchdowns. Incredible. For the 49ers, Josh Dobbs was leading the backfield. 326 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Not too bad. Also ran in a touchdown. Can't be mad at that. Patrick Taylor Jr., 109 yards on the ground. Ricky Purcell, 6 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown. They just got to stay healthy next year. I don't even know what to say. For the Cardinals, Kyler Murray, 242 yards, 4 touchdowns. Michael Carter, 43 yards, and a touchdown. Tony Jones Jr., 55 yards, and a touchdown. What a name that is. Trey McBride, 7 catches, 63 yards, and a touchdown. Marvin Harrison Jr., 5 catches, 63 yards, and a touchdown. Greg Dortch, 4 catches, 2 of which were touchdowns. There were a lot of touchdowns being scored for this Cardinals team. Domination all around. The other NFC West game, you had the Seahawks knocking off the Rams. I knew this would happen. I knew that the Seahawks would end with the same record as the Rams, yet they would not make the playoffs. And that's exactly what happened. Geno, 223 yards, 4 touchdowns. I want you to guess how many touchdowns went to Jackson Smith-Njigba. None. 4 catches, 9 yards. What happened, Jackson? What happened deciding not to show up in the season finale? But it's okay. You know what? It doesn't even matter. You'll be back next year. And Jackson Smith-Njigba, I think, has solidified himself as the wide receiver 1 on this team. He has surpassed Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. I truly, truly believe that. For the Rams, Jimmy Garoppolo, 334 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick, as all the starters were being rested for the Rams, which I didn't even realize as I now look at this. So none of this really mattered. Rams, they'll be taking on the Vikings. We're going to get that in a second in the playoffs. But for this conference overall, not conference, I keep calling it conference, for the division overall, pretty even, probably the most even division in football. 10-7 for Rams, 10-7 Seahawks, 8-9 Cardinals, and 6-11 49ers. The only outlier there is the 49ers, who end the year on a 4-game losing streak. Truly, they had a great opportunity. At one point, they were 6-7. They just couldn't formulate any wins. So, an embarrassing year for the 49ers, but Rams barely edge out their competition to get the division title. Now, as for the other 3:30 game, which I completely forgot about, Jets and Dolphins, Jets win 32-20 in what could potentially be Aaron Rodgers' final game. And if he's going out, no better way to go out than how about with a 4-touchdown performance. Hello, 274 yards, 4 touchdowns for Aaron Rodgers. Devontae, 6 catches, 88 yards, and a touchdown. Even Allen Lazard, 3 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown. I'll be interested to see the state of this team next season. I feel like it's going to flip-flop a lot, but hey, no better way to end the year than with a win. Now, for the Dolphins, it turned out this game didn't matter since the Broncos won, but Tua wasn't in anyways. Huntley was in, Tyler Huntley, 227 yards, touchdown, 2 picks, did what he had to do, but it was the Devin Chain show. 121 yards and a touchdown. Incredible. We already knew he was good. Jonnu Smith, 9 catches, 56 yards and a touchdown, did what he had to do. But the big storyline out of Miami is that Tyreek Hill is leaving. He said he is all good. He's ready to move on in the offseason. So you will no longer see him rocking the, was it the green, the blue? What do you even call that? I call it neon. Teal? Not teal. Bright green? I don't know. Whatever color the Dolphins wear, you will not see Tyreek Hill in that anymore. AFC East was the Bills' conference to win. I mean, Dolphins, Jets, and Patriots were just the runners-up the entire freaking season. So, tough stuff for them, but hey, that's just how it goes. And that's live. That's live. That's all I can say as we get into the final game of the regular season, Lions and Vikings. And we just didn't show up. The Lions win 31-9. End the year 50-2. Now, Vikings going 14-3, I'm not mad about at all, but I will say we just didn't show up at all. This entire game, Jahmyr Gibbs destroyed us. And I mean, Sam Darnold, 18 for 41, 166 yards. That won't get it done. No, it will not. Rushing-wise, Aaron Jones, 10 rushes, 45 yards. Cam Akers, 6 rushes, 65 yards. Not enough. Jefferson, 3 catches, 54 yards. Jalen Naylor, 3 catches, 53 yards. Aaron Jones, 5 catches, 30 yards. Jordan Addison, 1 catch for 0 yards. You got to be kidding me. But when our quarterback, which I mean, sorry, Sam, I have to blame someone, throws, oh my gosh, was this 23 incompletions? I want to make sure I got that right. That is just insane. Now we don't win the division. We don't get the number 1 seed, and now we have to go on the road to play the Rams, the only other team besides the Lions to beat us this year. Oh my gosh, and that was in Los Angeles too. The scriptwriters really cooking here. I really hope we can win that game. I'm going to go in with some serial optimism, but oh man. You know, I was talking about how, it wouldn't be too bad if we lost. It was that bad that we lost. We didn't show up at all. This wasn't game of the week. This shouldn't have been the final game of the season. Just a bummer all around. For the Lions, Jared Goff, 231 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Didn't even have a good game. We were cooked by one man and one man only. That's Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs, 139 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5 catches, 31 yards, and a touchdown. 47 freaking fantasy football points, 48 in some other leagues. He went ballistic. Amon-Ra, 6 catches, 77 yards. Sam Laporta, 7 catches, 63 yards. Jameson Williams, 6 catches, 34 yards. We just couldn't stop the first downs. No, we just truly couldn't. It was a bummer. It was a bummer all around. Nothing more to say. We gave up 394 yards of offense. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? I kind of can't believe it, but nonetheless, it still hurts. It still hurts. For the NFC North, Lions, king offense in the league, 564 points, a point differential of plus 222. Utterly insane. 8-0 on the road, 3-game win streak to end the year. You know what, Vikings, it's okay. We're going to rematch them in 2 weeks, and we're going to get our get back. Let me tell you, the Vikings are coming for some revenge, and we're coming with velocity. Veracity? Angerness? We're coming. We're coming for that win. Let me tell you that. But that's all we have for the end of the NFL regular season. It was a good year. It was a good year, kept me entertained. At times I questioned why I watch this much football, but then I remember it's enjoyable. Okay, the thrill of your favorite team winning, the lows of your favorite team losing, it is always so interesting. But who will win the MVP? My pick is Josh Allen. Rookie of the year, probably got to be Jaden Daniels. Other than that, I don't really care. Best team in the league, I still believe, is the Minnesota Vikings, and that's just because I am a Minnesota Viking fan. But next up, the final thing we got on today's episode, how about the not top 10, actually is every single title fight in 2024 in the UFC ranked. We did this last year. It was fun. We do it again this year. And let me tell you, we had some good title fights, and we also had some doozies. So let's go through 1 through 19 and look at my rankings. Starting off our list, we have number 19, the worst title fight of 2024, and it actually was the first title fight of the year, going down at UFC 297. We had the women's bantamweight matchup for the vacant championship between Raquel Pennington and Mayra Bueno Silva, and expectations were not high for this, but Mayra Bueno Silva had been coming in on a little submission streak. She was looking good. Raquel Pennington had been on a nice win streak of herself. And the fight got going, and Mayra Bueno Silva dominating early, landing some takedowns, was looking good, and then I don't know what happened. I don't know if she gassed out after round number 1, but Raquel Pennington took over the fight and never let up. Never let up. Final scorecards, 49-45, 49-46, 49-46, as it goes all 5 rounds, and it got to a point where it was almost like Raquel Pennington is just so not high level that she was unable to finish Mayra Bueno Silva, who was clearly gassed out, clearly could barely fight. It was also primarily grappling. I mean, totals for this fight, you had a total of 20 and a half minutes of grappling in this fight, all right? A full fight lasts 25 minutes. You get the gist for that. This was also kind of just a realization that, okay, these are the 2 best women bantamweights we have on the planet. It just wasn't adding up. This one lands at number 19 and is very forgettable. To make it even better, Raquel lost the belt later in the year, and Mayra Bueno Silva wouldn't win another fight the rest of the year. Number 18, we do have another women's matchup here, UFC 306, the women's flyweight matchup between Valentina Shevchenko as she looked to regain her belt with Alexa Grasso, and this one was just so painful to watch. So painful. This was every single round Valentina Shevchenko taking out Alexa Grasso, never even hunting a finish. All right, it was actually Alexa Grasso who's getting dominated that threw up 2 guillotine attempts. Okay, that was just about it. Total significant strikes for the fight, 45-18. Okay, 8 of 12 on takedowns for Valentina, 1 of 4 for Alexa. Okay, Alexa didn't win a single round, 50-45 across all those scorecards. It was very brutal. And for this being the sphere where you want excitement, you want exhilaration, this was just not it. This was boring, this was dull, and it just kind of made their last 2 fights seem almost like imaginary. It was like, how did they have such good, how did the first and second fights of their trilogy appear so good, and then this one is just awful? It didn't add up, and it lands at number 18 on this list. Coming in at number 17, we do have another women's bantamweight matchup, the second women's bantamweight fight of the year between Raquel Pennington and Juliana Pena in the co-main event at UFC 307. And this one was just an upgrade of the Raquel Pennington-Mayra Bueno Silva fight. This one was closer, went to a split decision. But at the end of the day, it's just you're watching it, you're like, are these really the 2 best women's bantamweights on the planet? It just didn't make sense. Both women landed exactly 92 significant strikes. Juliana going 2 of 3 on takedowns. Raquel staying on the feet the whole fight, never even attempted a takedown, landed a knockdown in the 4th, which was somewhat entertaining, but by the end of it, everyone kind of thought Raquel Pennington had done enough to win, and Julia Pena got the split decision. So kind of left with a sour taste, and it was almost just like 2024 was a filler year for this division. And for another context to go with a lot of these cards, and we're going to be ranking every pay-per-view of the year, is that especially with all 3 of these, is you had been going through multiple decisions already in a row, and people were looking for something exciting, and then to go another 5 rounds of just nothing of too much excitement, it just really sucks the energy out of an arena. So this one lands at 17. We can do without. We'll leave it in the past. Checking in at number 16, we have our first men's fight of this list, and is the UFC 306 matchup between Merab Dvalishvili and Sean O'Malley. And some context for this is that we had just been through Valentina and Valentina and Alexa Grasso, the fight we had just mentioned. We just witnessed that. We had also just witnessed Diego Lopez being unable to beat Brian Ortega. Okay, he finish, I should better say, which was somewhat entertaining. You also had the fight of the year against Espan Rivic and Daniel Luber. Then you also had decisions like Ronaldo Rodriguez, Ode Osborne, Norma Dumont, Irene Aldana. You had so many decisions, okay? And after just having to sit through Shevchenko and Grasso, we then had to sit through Merab and Sean O'Malley. And this fight made no sense. I also don't get the 48-47. I didn't give Sean a single round in my scorecard. This was just abysmal all around. Merab, 6 of 50 on takedowns, 10 minutes of control time. Sean O'Malley threw 49, all right, total strikes this whole fight. Merab, 214. Okay, Merab clearly came to win, clearly came to play, and we already knew Merab's game plan was to just grapple the entire fight. He's not a finisher. He doesn't go for finishes. He does what he has to do, and it was just boring. It wasn't entertaining, and it was kind of just like once it was all said and done, you're like, dang, Sean O'Malley lost, and it was not that exciting. And to be at the Sphere and to just not put on such a performance, it was just a very dull moment. And then Merab, he has such a high personality. He's so happy on the mic, and you're kind of just like, we're not forgetting about the boring fight you just put on. So it lands at number 16. That's just how it goes. Checking in at number 15 is our lone welterweight championship matchup of the year between Bilal Muhammad and Leon Edwards. And unlike most of these, you actually had two of the best moments of the night right before this. So this was coming off of just some red-hot finishes from Paddy Pimblett. We're going to mention in a moment Tom Aspinall. And then we get to Bilal Muhammad and Leon Edwards. And this entire fight, it was similar to the Sean O'Malley-Merab fight, where you have Bilal, who clearly is determined to win the belts, taking on a guy in Leon Edwards, who's the champion, who just didn't show up. Like, similar to Sean O'Malley, we knew Sean O'Malley was good. He had just defended the belts, and then he's coming in here, and he's not showing up against Merab. Similar scenario, and Bilal grappling is just about as boring as it gets. 9 of 13 on takedowns, 12 minutes of control time. To make matters worse, Leon wasn't in a striking mood. He goes 2 of 2 on takedowns for 7 minutes of control time, leaving us a total of 19 minutes of grappling. I think you're seeing a recurring thing here. When we get 5-round grappling matchups, they're usually very boring. Leon might have won. I could maybe give him 2 rounds in this fight at best. Maybe he's round 3 and 5, but I mean, there's little to be loved here. Dana White was not happy, and Bilal Muhammad, not an exciting champion. Leon wasn't that exciting either. This one comes in at number 15. Now, this is what I would like to consider kind of like the last of the mediocre or not as good championship fights. Coming in at number 14, we do have the UFC 300 matchup between Zhang Wei Li and Yan Chaonin. And this one did go all 5 rounds. And I think the main issue with this is it was looking like we were going to get a finish. And then Zhang Wei Li just decided to lean on the grappling through the final 2 rounds of the fight. But, I mean, through the first 3, if this was a 3-round fight, super entertaining. Round 1, Zhang Wei Li just about finishes Yan Chaonin. I mean, she almost submitted her, almost TKO'd her on the ground. It was beautiful. Round 2 comes out. Zhang Wei Li dominates for the entire fight, gets clipped at the end of round 2. Not an official knockdown, but gets clipped. Round 3, actually gets knocked out. We thought she was going to get knocked out. She rallies, and after almost getting knocked out, she leans on the grapplings around 4 and 5, which is kind of why it lands here. And another reason that's going to land here on the list is that a lot of the fights after this are actually entertaining. We have finishes, we have excitement, and just for this one, it wasn't bad. It was the best women's fight of the entire year, but we definitely could have seen some more, such as a finish or some more striking, if you will. Getting on to number 13, we head to the men's flyweight division as we have our UFC 301 main event between Alexander Pantoja and Steve Erceg. And this one was surprising. Okay, this was surprising. This was a very strung-together last-minute championship matchup. Steve Erceg was ranked number 10 at the time, and he's coming in here against Pantoja. We knew Pantoja had been dominant, and he gave Pantoja a run for his money. A 48-47 fight across all judges' scorecards, except for Dave Torelli, who gave out a screwy 49-46. And this fight was characterized as, if it was on the feet, it was going to Erceg. If it went to the ground, it was going to Pantoja. So Pantoja, 9 of 19 on takedowns, 8 minutes of control time. Erceg landed 111 significant strikes on him, The only other man out here doing that is Brandon Moreno, okay? So Steve Erceg, come in game, show him what he needed to do, and he wins rounds 2 and 4, which is always some of the most pivotal rounds to win, especially when, he was down 2-1 heading into that 4th round, needed to win it, kept it on the feet, did what he had to do. This was entertaining. It did go all 5 rounds, I won't lie, and it necessarily wasn't a fight of the night, but compared to the ones we've just talked about, it was pretty entertaining. Number 12 was actually the final title fight, the final title fight, final pay-per-view main event of the year, as we had Alexander Pantoja taking on the debuting Kai Asakura. And the only issue with this fight, is that it didn't feel like the main event. It felt like after this was over, this was like a co-main event, setting up a main event. And the fact that we knew how good Kai Asakura was, and his striking looked great in here, but it was like once he got taken down, that was that. And especially round 2, he legit got taken down, but his back taken and submitted, and you're kind of just like, oh, that's it. Even I was rooting for Asakura. My buddy was rooting for Pantoja, and Pantoja submitted me. He was kind of just like, oh, that's it? That there's nothing else after this? It's kind of how I felt after the John Jones-Cyril Gane fight, where it was kind of like, oh, that's all we have. Wow, okay. So it lands right there. Pantoja, very dominant, but I would rank this above his Steve Erceg fight due to it ending sooner and us really seeing the more potential for a knockout from Kai Asakura opposed to Steve Erceg. Speaking of quick finishes, at number 11, we have the interim heavyweight championship matchup between Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blaydes. And this was the shortest title fight of the year at only 1 minute. But that 1 minute of Tom Aspinall getting his revenge on Curtis Blaydes. He had been injured last time he fought Curtis Blaydes. This was you should never have to defend an interim championship. John Jones was ducking him. Tom Aspinall coming out here in front of his home nation of England, knocking out Curtis Blaydes in a minute. It was just so feel good. And the fact he keeps knocking guys out in a minute is just mind-boggling to see, especially on the level that Curtis Blaydes is at. It was phenomenal. The crowd was going crazy, and it was a feel-good moment all around. And I'm excited to see Tom Aspinall versus John Jones coming up next year. With that, we get into our top 10, and our first fight here on our top 10 coming in at number 10 is our middleweight championship. It was the second title fight of the year at UFC 297 between Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis. It was our first fight of the night of the year. And this was phenomenal. My only issue is I was at the bar, and I was just catching bits and pieces of this. In fact, I only really can remember seeing the hands being raised for the split decision, people sighing, me cheering. But as you look at the stats, it's pretty much round 1, Strickland. Round 2 goes to du Plessis. Round 3 to Strickland, very close. Round 4 goes to du Plessis. Round 5 comes around. It's any man's game. I think a lot of people thought it went to Strickland. But, there's always the possibility where, the takedowns has really played into Dricus du Plessis' favor. In my opinion, when I was scoring it, I think I gave du Plessis around 2, 3, and 4, I want to say, due to the grappling, round 3 even. I could have had it 4-0 heading into the 5th for du Plessis. It was very entertaining. Out of all the ones we've talked about that have gone the distance, this up to that point was the best one so far. Very entertaining, and looking where they're at right now, they're going to be rematching coming up next year. It's crazy how the cycle repeats itself of these rematches. Number 9, we have the UFC 309 main event between Johnny Bones Jones, and Stipe Miocic. No, I won't lie. It was okay. It was okay. I do think you get caught up in the enigma that you're like, holy cow, I'm watching John Jones fight, which is very exciting to see. But it was pretty much a one-way fight. You do have some excitement with Stipe in the second round, where he landed 16 significant strikes opposed to John Jones' 20, but round 1 he got taken down. Round 3 he just looked gassed, looked like he could barely stand. Gets hit with a body shot. That was that. But fresh off of that Charles Oliveira, Michael Chandler fight, this was a perfect way to cap off a Madison Square Garden evening in November, and it lands at number 9, 309 at number 9 for the heavyweight championship. At number 8, we have our UFC 303 main event, Alex Pereira's second title fight of the year, as he took on none other than Jiri Prochazka in their rematch, which was very, very entertaining. Okay, this was a good main event. good main event. The only bad thing about this is that it came together last minute, so we didn't get a full training camp for both of these fellas. But this was just Alex Pereira just exposing how good he is. Okay, round one, outstruck him 27-7, knocked him out basically at the end of the fight. He stands right back up, and we all know. Start of round two, that head kick knockout, you've seen it on so many highlight reels throughout the year. It was phenomenal. I've been using that word so much, but it truly was, and it really just showed how good Alex Pereira was. And, he was kind of on people's radar for Fighter of the Year at this point, but this really stated a case with this knockout of Jerry Prochazka. These two will probably not be fighting each other ever again. It's probably for the best, because Alex Pereira is Jerry Prochazka's kryptonite. At number 7, you have your UFC 299 main event between Sean O'Malley and Marlon Vera. And this is one of the weirder ones because this was a one-sided fight. Okay, this was one-way traffic for Sean O'Malley, 50-44, 50-45, 50-45 scorecards, 230 significant strikes to 89. But there was just something about watching Sean O'Malley completely outclass Marlon Vera. The strikes he was laying, the uppercuts, the punches, the kicks to the body, the knee to the head. It was just adding up all together, and people were losing their minds. It was ballistic. It was ballistic, and I was having a blast watching it, especially being a Sean O'Malley fan. And it was kind of like this thing where Sean O'Malley, the only man he had lost to was to Marlon Vera due to being injured. So people were kind of like, this would be a big proving step for him if he could beat him. And beat him he did. The only good shot Marlon got in was in the final seconds of the fight. He landed a body shot. Other than that, it was all Sean O'Malley. So, and it's weird where you get a one-sided main event, but I mean, this was a performance bonus to Sean O'Malley, and could have even given it fight of the night if it had been, if Marlon Vera had even shown up, but he didn't. This was all sugar Sean O'Malley. At number 6, you have a UFC 305 main event between Dricus du Plessis and Israel Adesanya, and the shock and awe seeing du Plessis beat Adesanya was just something to uphold. I mean, round one, we get going, and du Plessis outstrikes Adesanya. Kind of like, all right, well, I guess Adesanya, he's been out of the game for almost a year. Bit of ring rust. Comes back round 2, outstrikes him. Comes back round 3, outstrikes him. Then round 4, gets going. Du Plessis clipping him. Adesanya tells him to bring it, and he drops Adesanya, essentially. Wasn't actually labeled as a knockdown. Takes his back perfectly, locks in a rear naked choke, taps him. It was surreal. And the fact these two had such a rivalry, the fact Adesanya had been calling him out, and the fact that Adesanya went from being the top dog to now being the challenger and not being able to reclaim the belt, it was something to uphold. And truly, when we're talking about moments, seeing him be submitted, I remember I was with all my buddies watching this on the bar at my phone, and everyone was rooting for Adesanya, and I'm like, no, DDP's going to win this, and DDP won, and I was screaming, I was going crazy, and it was such a good moment, which is why the middleweight championship matchup between DDP and Izzy comes in at number 6. But with that, we get into our top 5, and kicking us off at number 5, none other than the UFC 300 main event between Alex Pereira and Jamal Hill. And it only lasted 3 minutes. You only get 3 minutes of this, but the moment itself. By the way, we just sat through Zhang Weili and Jan Chaonin. And before that, you just sat through not Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway, which that knockout was good. But mind you, a 5-round fight. Before that, you had sat through Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan. So we just sat through a bunch of decisions. Mind you, entertainment, but a bunch of decisions. So coming out here, you kind of got the vibe like whoever really lands the first clean punch is going to knock them out. And as we all know, Jamal Hill nut taps Alex Pereira. And you're kind of like, ooh, that sucks. Alex Pereira waves her team off, and you're kind of like, following the announcers, John Ack and Joe, you're kind of like, oh, that's funny. And then he lands a left, clips him, drops him, TKOs him on the ground. It was surreal. It was so hype, and it was kind of just like, you're like, Alex Pereira's legit. Alex Pereira is as legit as they come as a champion. It was so fun watching that. Easily could have been the number 1 moment of the year, in my opinion, but the ones before it, I think, are better title fights, in my opinion. But number 5, UFC 300, it was fantastic. A great way to cap off the event. I think ending the events in the fashions that you do is really important, and that's what happened here. Kicking us off at number 4 is the UFC 298 Featherweight Championship matchup between Ilia Topuria and Alexander Volkanovski. And this was weird for me because I never doubted that he was going to Volk was going to win here. No, I never doubted that Ian Topuria was going to win here. Okay, I had projected that he would get it done, and he did. And I wasn't surprised at all seeing Ian Topuria knock out Volkanovski. But there's one thing where I'm not surprised. There's nothing actually witnessing it. And the fact that, Volk was outstriking him, and then Topuria finally gets a bit of momentum going backwards in his favor, but body shot clips him, drops him, he's knocked out cold. It was insane to see. And, the entire momentum that UFC 298 was rolling with and really culminating here is what added to how good this title fight was. And seeing how we ended the year with Ian Topuria really just made this KO look even better. And as impressive as Islam Makhachev's knockout of him was, seeing Ia put him out cold, man, it was something to see. Landing at number 3, we have one of my favorite fights of the entire year. It was Rocky 4. It was Rocky 4, Rocky 3. I don't even know which Rocky it was, but it was Russia versus the United States. It was the lightweight championship matchup between Islam Makhachev and Dustin Poirier at UFC 302. I'm still not over it. I am still not over how damn good this fight was. And I get Dustin Poirier might come back for one more fight, but this felt like it was Dustin Poirier's last chance. Okay, at a title it was, but it felt like his last fight in general too. And the game plan was simple, okay? Avoid getting taken down. What happens in round 1? He gets taken down. Controlled for 4 minutes and 23 seconds. You're kind of like, oh, here we go again. We're going to get another one of these. And then round 2, Dustin keeps it close. Islam takes it to the ground at one point, but he defends 3 takedowns. He keeps the significant strikes close, 26-24, outstrikes him total strikes 32-30. You're kind of like, okay, Dustin's in this. Round 3 comes around. Similar scenario. Now, Islam does land another takedown, 2 minutes of control time, but significant strikes, 18-15, and the tide seems to be turning. Round 4, the tide really turns as Islam is defended on takedowns 5 times and is outstruck 23-20. His face is bleeding. He's been hit with some elbows, and it truly looked like round 4, like we were maybe going to see it, is Dustin Poirier TKO. Round 5 comes around. It truly felt like it was anyone's fight to win. It's going back and forth. The striking's going phenomenal, and then Dustin slipped up for just a moment. I'm talking a split second. Islam's able to slap on a Darce choke, and that was that. And it was, getting round 5 finishes is always entertaining, but this was a performance bonus for Islam. This was a fight of the night. After such a boring UFC 302 card, this was such an electric way to end the evening. And, man, it was heartbreaking to see Dustin Poirier lose again, come up just so short. But, I mean, it was still fun. It was still fun all around. I'll remember this one for a while. And like I said, number 3 title fight of the year. Go back and rewatch this fight. It is a fun one to watch. And at number 2, when we talk about rewatchable fights, okay, this one, about 3.5 rounds. I think 4.5, actually. This one ended in round number 4. UFC 307 light heavyweight championship matchup between Alex Pereira and the number 8 ranked Khalil Rountree Jr. Yet another title fight that was kind of just thrown together. They needed a main event, and thankfully, Khalil Rountree Jr. was up for the challenge, up for the job. And what was really weird about this one is that Khalil came to play round 1. It was even, but I think a lot of people agreed Khalil probably won that round. Round 2, you're going to see Alex Pereira outstruck him 18-11, but in all honesty, Alex almost got knocked out. I mean, he got clipped hard, barely held his balance, had to really cling in there to stay in it, and it was looking good. Round 3, you see the tide switch. Alex Pereira starts to land more. Now, Khalil's landing stuff too, but you really see Pereira get it going, and then round 4. Round 4, Alex Pereira beats any other light heavyweight, I think, in history. I mean, that was insane. In the 4 minutes, 32 seconds it lasted, 63 significant strikes to 15. Okay, in the finishing sequence, dodging all of Khalil Rountree's punches. Khalil's eyes completely swollen up. He's hitting him in the face. Then the 2 body shots to end it. Oh my gosh, it was so exhilarating. It was just getting the blood pumping. Everyone was going crazy, and this was just the definition of grit and of talent, and it showed how good Khalil Rountree Jr. is. It truly did. And of all the performances throughout this entire year, when I'm talking about a guy stepping in that's not like one of the best in the world, and like someone as Khalil Rountree Jr., and staking a claim to being the best in the world on the top stage, getting a main event opportunity, it was fantastic to see. And by the way, this solidified Alex Pereira for Fighter of the Year for me, and it was just a phenomenal title fight. And when I think about title fights, it's fights like these that I think about. But ladies and gentlemen, the number 1 title fight of the year, in my very so humble, I'm such a humble person, in my humble opinion, has to go to the UFC 308 main event, the featherweight championship matchup between Io Topura and Max Holloway. And, I just remember watching, I'm just like, I projected Io Topura to get the knockout, but when you see it happen, it is just something else entirely. Seeing him and Max just trade punches relentlessly through rounds 1 and 2, and it's, Max outstrikes him in round 1, then it's getting closer in round 2, and then round 3, Max gets hit with such a good straight, gets backed up, and the finishing sequence. I mean, we all know Max Holloway starts backing up, gets hit with the classic body shot, left hook comes across, and down Holloway goes. It's like when you watch him fall, he falls so fast. It's how fast Io Topura hits. Hit with a couple punches, he's out cold, and Io Topura sips his tea, and he did it. He did it. He knocked out Max Holloway. Io Topura could retire today, and I think he'll go down as the greatest featherweight of all time. I mean, he has to. Who else has ever knocked out two of the GOATs? Like, when we talk about the greatest featherweights of all time, Max Holloway and Volk are up there. Jose Aldo's obviously in the competition, but it's really Volk and Holloway. When you think about that, and Io Topura knocked out both of them. Another thing with Max Holloway, he had not only never been knocked out, he'd never been knocked down. He'd never been dropped before, and Io Topura not only dropped him, knocked him out, celebrated, and looking at where Max Holloway was after he knocked out Justin Gaethje and seeing where he was here, it was clear to see that we have a star in Io Topura. And shock factor moment, this one was at an all-time high. The competitive level was at an all-time high, and it was a tense 3 rounds. It wasn't a boring 3 rounds, and it really kept everyone in it for the long ride. It was a great time. Good stuff. And that's right. That is my number 1 title fight of 2024. But that's all 19 title fights ranked for you in the year. We'll be back next year to rank all the ones in 2025. I mean, it's going to be tough to compete with a lot of these. And out of the 19, I identified 13, I'd say, as being good compared to bad. But really, there weren't really any, I'd say, gosh darn awful. But, when you have grappling fest through 5 rounds with no attempt at a finish, it'll really lose the crowd. So a lot of these fights you saw, striking is what's really going to draw people in, really bring the eyes, really make it entertaining, which I think is a good analysis when we think of how entertaining UFC can be for some people. But that's all we got for today's episode, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back, of course, later this week. We got UFC Vegas 101 predictions, NFL wildcard predictions overall, and who knows? Who knows what other ranking supply thing I haven't think. Maybe we'll rank every pay-per-view of the year next, and then we, of course, will be ranking every fight night main event in 2024. I'm getting around to that. It's taking a while to go through them all and rank them, but we most definitely will. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone, have a fantastic week. Whenever you listen to this, have a fantastic life. And as always, I'll catch you next time on the Surprise Jab Podcast.